Hello, today's little video will be on changing the thermostat, and we'll be going over the housing some. I'm doing it on a 1.9 engine head that I have removed, just to make the video easier to do. But this will work on the 1.6s, the 1.9s, the split board induction engines, 2 liters, all the CVHs, because they all have the thermostat right here in the block. I've been told that the hole for it varies in size, and this housing pipe that mounts to it may be different for you, but the overall concept is the same. So anyways, to get down to it, the best time to do this is when you have the water pump off, because your coolant's already drained. Because you try taking this off, whatever coolant's in this little bit of pipe is going to run out, and if there's any excess inside the head, it's going to run out and spill all over your transmission. So fight this hose off, and you'll want to do that because you can leave the hose on and remove this if you can even do that. But if you do that, you might crack the hose in various places. You might even split it at that time, and then once you put it all back together, you'll have coolant dripping out of your main hose. So try to remove it if you can. If you have to, undo the bolts that hold this guy on and separate it from the head, and then you can fully rotate this around to get that hose off. Like I said, once you get the hose out, there's just these 3 bolts that hold it on into the head. Once you get that all off, there should be a paper gasket between the housing and the head. So you'll need to remove that paper gasket. Sometimes it sticks to the head, sometimes it sticks to the housing, sometimes it sticks to both. Mine stuck to the housing, and then all you need to do to clean it is just grab a razor blade, scrape it around, go around the surface, do it around the head if you have to too. If you want to, you could take some sandpaper to this, but I don't recommend it because there's a lip here. You want to leave that. That's what compresses the gasket and keeps it sealing. Same thing with around this check valve. There's a lip there. So you can sand the head if you want. Use probably 600 grit. Make that kind of smooth, or a little bit of texture to it. Once you do all that, you'll want to check your check valve here. It's that guy. You can see there's a little shiny ball in there. So when you shake it, you should hear it. So if you hear that, it kind of sounds like a jingle bell. So you should see the ball completely. When you hold it upside down, hold it right side up, it drops back down into its cavity, and it should be free flowing like that. This one wasn't, so I had to put this in the bead blaster. Bead blasted that for a little bit, but you gotta be careful, because if you're moving air past that ball, it's going to spin at a rapid rate, and you might burn up that ball. You might send it further down the tube, or you might burn out this brass race on the top here. So when it starts going, back her off. And then you can bead blast the assembly here, the whole housing if you want. That's what I tried to do. I had to do that on the end here because it was rust. It was bright red. Same thing with the inside of this here. And this temperature sensor comes right out. You don't have to do this when you put it back in, but it's a good idea to put Teflon tape when it goes back in. because you never know what the condition of the threads are like. So there's not much to this guy. It's just a brass block, and all the electronics are inside it. So, like I said, try to add some Teflon tape, put it back together, and then your thermostat should just pop out of the housing, because it goes in like this, with the big head and the gasket facing down inside the housing towards the sensor. So it goes in there. For the 1.6 in the early 80s, 81, 82 for sure, the thermostat was rated to open at somewhere between 195 and 210, which is extremely high. So you can actually get these in any heat setting you want, but I recommend one of the lowest you can go, which is, I think, 185 is a good one. Just keep in mind, if you go down too far, if you get like a 120, this guy will always be open. So then your car's not going to run all that great because it's running cold. But yeah, like a 180, 175, that's lower than the factory setting, so this should run a whole lot better without running cold, or worse yet, running hot. So once you get a new one, just make sure that your O-rings all on there, good to go. Stick it inside. Put your new paper gasket on the surface. Stick that on the side of the head, and then you're all done. And then once you do that, you'll want to test it. So get this engine idling, and hopefully you have a heat gun or a thermometer or something that you can put in this area to read that it's opening when it's supposed to open. So when it's opening, this elbow pipe should be at the 185 if you got a 185 thermostat, 195 if you got a 195, 175 if you got 175, and so forth. You don't have to remove the distributor to do this. I don't recommend it, but if yours is already off, then you might as well do your thermostat. Because you can see in this video, it makes it a whole lot easier. The thermostat takes up the whole frame of the camera right here. It's a fair size. You might find it in your way, you might not. When you're putting the hose back on the end, it helps to use some of this grease. You can put a heavy duty multi-use high temp grease. Just lightly coat it, around the outside of the nipple, and it'll really help putting that new hose back on, and then you should be good to go. So that's about it. See you guys next time. Good luck.